We're starting a new devotional series in the book of Philemon, partly because a lot of people don't even know there is a book of Philemon or what's in the letter, but mainly because I think it has some valuable lessons in leading people and shepherding people. Paul doesn't teach those lessons, but he exhibits those lessons in talking to a friend of his, Philemon. And his leadership is not authoritarian. Here he is, an apostle, but he is gentle, he's loving, he's kind, he's persuasive. And he exhibits the very things Jesus says that we should when we lead each other. Jesus said that to be a leader, we need to be the servant of one another, not lording it over. Mark 2, chapter 10, verse 42, you know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, but it shall not be so among you. And as Paul is helping Philemon come to a place of forgiveness, we'll talk about that in a moment, he's not saying, hey, you better listen to what I say because I'm in charge. He says, hey, you're my brother, and I'm thankful for you. In fact, that's where his leadership begins. It begins with thanks and appreciation, which I think is really different than very much than what we see in modern times. Leadership tends to think, how do I make the organization work? How do I get the pieces in place and make the machinery produce what I want it to do? It tends to be very functional, transactional, and we don't see people as people. And Paul says, essentially, by practice, you begin with thanks. Thanks, certainly for the work people give, but you thank them for just because they're them. Thanks begins with noticing their work, but noticing them as people. In the book of Philemon, again, the first thing Paul says, I give thanks for you. That's what he says in verse 4. I thank my God always when I remember you in my prayers. But it's clear that he's seeing their work. He says, I hear of your love and your faith that you have toward the Lord Jesus and for all the saints. That's in verse 5. But perhaps more importantly, he sees not just their labor, but their person. And he begins talking about Philemon's household. Philemon, to our beloved fellow worker, and Epaphia, our sister, and Archippus, our fellow soldier, and the church in your house. It's not just that your work matters, you matter. There's good reason to think that Epaphia is Philemon's wife, Archippus is their son, but regardless, these are people that are close to Philemon. Paul's not just interested in Philemon's benefit to the organization. He loves these people, and he expresses his thanks for them. And the question for us is that what we do? Do we express love for the people in our lives, or do we love them just because of what they can do for us? There's a powerful moment in a mostly forgotten Steven Spielberg film called AI, Artificial Intelligence. In that movie, a young family experiences a tragedy. Their only child develops an incurable disease, and he falls into a coma, not likely to wake up. And in their grief, they take on this experimental robot boy named David, a new artificial intelligence who can actually love. And this robot is designed to be a boy who can love his parents, love his mother. And this boy does love his mother. But when their biological son recovers, there's a miracle and there's a cure for the disease, they discard David. And the robot spends the entire movie trying to win back the affections of his mother. Now, David comes across other robots in this movie, and he comes across a robot played by Jude Law. His name is Gigolo Joe, and you can guess from his name, his function. And Joe tries to explain to him why he should give up his pursuit of his mother and humans in general. This is what he says. She loves what you do for her, as my customers love what it is I do for them. But she does not love you, David. You were designed, built specific like the rest of us, and you are alone now only because they tired of you or replaced you with a younger model or were displeased with something you said or broke. Now, this might be about robots, but how many of us have felt like we were disposable in our work environment or in our friend group? How many of us have treated others this way? How many of us thought that it was a good leadership principle to not get personal and just make those hard decisions? Leadership, whether it's positional or informal, as a parent, you're with a friend, you need to give thanks for the people in your life, even when they're not so convenient. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. Paul, as he was leading people, gave thanks for them. He appreciated them. He saw them for who they were, first and foremost, not simply the benefit they brought to him. And that's how we should lead and love. That's how we were loved by our Father in heaven. I encourage you to do the same. Blessings on you all.